Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Lap Down Podcast. I am your host, Jamie. You may thought that this sounded a little different, but your ears did not deceive you. Greg is out tonight. He's got some stuff that he's got to take care of, so I'm going to run the ship. Hopefully we don't burn it to the ground. But as usual, we have JP, we have Ben, we got Rumble, and we got Ryan Dyer on for tonight. How is everything going on in the up in the northern plains of Canada? And Ryan, you're technically in the United States, but it might as well be South Canada with all the snow you're dealing with. How are you guys surviving out there?
Well, I got a foot of snow, and I'm not going to be driving my car to work in the morning because it's a 4,000-pound brick rear-wheel drive with cheap Chinese tires on it, and it's not going nowhere. And that stuff. How about that? We got snow up here in the Canada.
Yep.
And you got it's a payday off, right?
I don't know about that yet. I'll see that on payday, I guess. That's I was told to stay home. I'm sure hoping I'm getting paid for it. I was ready to go.
Yeah, and I've got a space
What about you,
heater
Ryan?
about 10 feet from me, trying to keep up with all the cold air coming through.
I bet it is
Well,
cold.
Blame it on Canada. I mean, it did come from up here, right?
Blame
Pretty sure the storm came
Canada.
from below us and went up right through Maine and then to Canada.
Oh, there you go.
So, still not as bad.
Yeah.
as when
JP, how's things
when
going on
power
over there in
heat
your
got
neck of the
knocked
woods?
out for Christmas, though.
Ooh.
Yeah, you didn't have internet for what, like a week or something, didn't you?
Yeah, internet was out for like 8-9 days. Power was out for about 7.
There you go.
And of course, it was the week of
JP.
Christmas, so.
How's weather out your way, JP?
Terrible. We got
It's terrible.
I could not leave my house for a couple days. The roads were god awful. I did go out with my dad, but he was probably scooping him. Me and my dad could be out, but it was bad. So
Yeah, 'cause you're dealing with a decent bit of snow over there too, right?
yeah, like a mountain, full of snow.
I just saw something. How good of an idea would it be to have a wheelchair accessible dog sled team?
Oh,
It'd be funny, that's for sure.
that would be fun.
That would be crazy.
Meanwhile, they're all dealing with all that snow. Ben, what do we got?
Mush.
Yep, much and rain.
Much rain and icy roads.
Pretty
There you
much.
go.
Cold.
I don't know if you guys have heard some of the rumblings amongst the NASCAR community. Every pun intended on your name there, Rumble. But some people have been listening to the podcast, and NASCAR did something that's kind of got them rumbling a little bit. I don't know if you heard, but the Busch Light Clash for the Saturday set of events, it makes no sense. They have fans banned from the facility for Saturday.
Of course, it
Because they
makes
only
no
posted
sense.
ticket sales for only Sunday.
Right, but of course, it makes no sense. They took that to me. That's an exhibition race, and you're going to close it down to the exhibition on the. It just makes no sense. NASCAR did this, like, let's bring it to the masses in a new environment, and they're like, no, you can't come today. Makes zero sense to me. If someone can explain it to me, I'd love to hear it.
To our grade A attraction, just not this day.
Right, especially and when we're out there, and that just makes no sense to me. Can someone explain it to me how it makes sense?
Not because
It doesn't.
singing toes, but NASCAR, what are you doing? I mean, for pick's sake, you have made a mountain out of a molehill, and not giving us access is the one thing to do. Guys, I want to get your guys' opinion. I think this is the start of NASCAR going downhill with the before mentioned screaming platform they're going to in a couple of years. And I think that this not having access deal on Saturday, like you're talking about there, Jamie.
I'd like to retort.
A NASCAR, as we
I
know.
I don't think streaming is a bad idea for NASCAR to go. Give me the option to pay for a streaming pass for the entire season, and it covers everything, front to back, all the races, all the qualifying, all it. Just give me all access, and yeah, I'd pay good money for that.
Yep.
This is just a, I don't know. It's
a good business decision.
yeah, exactly.
If they give the Mexican series a lot of attention, then it'll be worth it. But
Yeah.
you're still losing out on people who could be actually seeing what they're doing and giving people access that don't normally see it.
Yeah.
Right, and the one thing I was going to touch on is like every single heat race it has been moved to Saturday, and the reason why it was moved to Saturday is because of the Mexico Series race being part of the Sunday exhibition for everyone to see. So I don't know if it was just that the fact that the stadium itself had like something in the contracts where they only allowed them up for the one day to have people show up, or if there's something underlying going on. But I mean, on one side you miss out on the heat races, but on the other side you get two full races. You get the actual Clash, and then you also get the Mexico Series race.
And you still get the LCQ, so no drivers will technically be eliminated until fans are available to actually be in the stadium. So, like, for example, if you're a Chase Elliott fan, Chase Elliott, there's zero chance he gets eliminated before fans are allowed in because the LCQ is also happening on that Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
But my
Ben,
opinion
what's
on
your
it-
thoughts on it? Because we kind of... Oh, go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, so my opinion on it for the most part, though, is unless you have something in your contract with the LA Coliseum saying that you can't have people in there, like you can't have spectators in there both days, why not sell extra tickets, even if it causes a 0.2% less viewer experience, or some people go for just one day and decide not to come back for the main event the next day. Sell the tickets. There's very little reason to keep people out that have traveled there, potentially from across the country, to see the race.
Right. That's the whole point.
Right.
Was the whole point of not bringing it to the Coliseum was to bring it to a new group of people. And like I said, to literally close people out when they're actually out racing and doing whatever. At all of our local tracks, you can go see the whole thing, the qualifying, everything. You're not told that you can't be in there on that day. It's just doesn't make sense.
And I know not last week, but the week before, we kind of touched on the Clash and all the pros and cons of the Clash. And I was a big supporter of the Clash compared to everybody else. But at this point, I'll hop on board with you, Rumble. Let's just bring it back to Daytona. Let's get that tradition of just gearing up for high speed, nose to bumper interaction, and
Absolutely.
just keep it all at Daytona as the hype up.
Well, does
Absolutely.
California not have any other racetracks? Like, do they not have an actual racetrack in California anymore?
They had Auto
No,
Club.
Yeah,
Auto
I've
Club
heard
and Sonoma.
people talking about many different tracks where they could be doing that, but what I'm saying is the Coliseum it's not the right fit. It's not showing off the cars what they are. You know what I mean? It's too small.
I think
It doesn't
honestly,
show what they
what
can
about
do.
Las Vegas Motor Speedway? I mean, you still get a big I mean, it's not quite as close to a big city as the LA Coliseum, but it's a big
Honestly, that
market,
would be
and it's a track where the cars perform probably at or near their best in the
Right.
series.
That's what I'm saying.
That or a road course in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, if you could get the right to use that, the same Vegas street course that the F1 cars use, yeah, that would be cool.
I feel like the dedicated fans would watch a road course race for the Clash, but I feel like that's not. It's supposed to be a spectacle, right? Like, we're getting ready to go to Daytona. Let's just go to Daytona and get ready for Daytona like we always did. Let's just why do we have to change everything that may not be for the better, in my opinion?
But the problem with Daytona, and if you remember back to the Clash in 2020 and 2021, the last 2 years, I believe it was on the oval. I mean, it was essentially a practice session before turning into a demolition derby in the final 2 laps. I mean, nobody really raced.
You're right. It's a practice, but what's wrong? It's a practice session. We're getting ready to go to the 500 in weeks, right? What is it? 2 weeks after that we're getting ready to go to the 500.
Yep.
It's just, to me, it's always been that. I'm a fan. I've been in this for 30 years, watching it. Like, there was nothing wrong with the Clash. Why are we taking it to the Coliseum? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Again, it seemed like a novel idea the first time, and now I think it's lost its luster, I guess I would say.
If we're talking about like California tracks, one track I would love to see NASCAR go to, which I think is odd that I can't think of time that they went there, would be WeatherTech Raceway in Laguna Seca.
I don't know how that...
If you Google search
Laguna
that
Seca
track. It's a big track with a lot of straightway speeds, but then it also gives you some of the road course action.
Yeah,
it gives you big road course action.
Actually act on that road course with all the up and down of the corkscrew in particular.
I'm with Ryan. The corkscrew down there. Are those cars even going to be on their tires anymore? They're going to be on their bumpers at both ends, right?
You can't say that wouldn't make for great racing, though.
It would be entertaining, I guess. Yeah. Here they come in the corkscrew, and they all skid off the track because they got no tires on the ground.
Yeah, and then you have a repeat of which year was it? Was it Circuit of the Americas where everybody was just piling in? Or no. Charlotte Roval the first year when they all went piling into turn 1, probably the best.
Oh, I hate the Roval.
Then they got used to the Roval, and then now look at it.
Yep.
They're managing to keep all their tires on the ground, so they could always go there.
Possibly.
It would be entertaining.
That would be an entertaining exhibition instead of doing it at the Coliseum.
Right. And just put all the cameras down at the corkscrew, because that's where it's going to be really fun.
Because that's my thing with road course races, now that I've actually been to a road course race in person, is that it is hard to see you only get to see a portion of the action based on where you're sitting.
That's why the only road course I would really like to go to would be the Roval, because you can see everything.
I mean, I was at that's the one road course I was at, and I still had a hard time seeing everything. I mean, I could see a decent portion of it, but
I've yet to be to a cup race, and I promise you I wouldn't spend money for tickets for a road course. I'm going to where it's proper. I'm going to an oval track where I can see everything. So
yeah, that's why I like the idea actually of doing it at a short track. Now, the LA Coliseum, I would like to see them expand it to a different potential stadium, but yeah. Regardless, that's not the topic at hand, I don't think. It's more about the fan access or lack thereof.
We're all in
agreement. You're right.
Yep.
And we're all in agreement too. It's a dumb decision by NASCAR. One, they lost out on more profit off of ticket sales, but two, it just contradicts everything that they were trying to accomplish. And that's what's got all of us here at the Lapdown Podcast and 95% of the rest of NASCAR fans all rumbling a little bit as we're gearing up towards the beginning of the season. I guess you would call this the first flat tire of the season.
There you go.
Yep.
But
agreed.
Transitioning from that, Legacy Motor Club is now part of Team Toyota for the 2024 season and beyond. And this is going to be sparking a couple firsts. We're going to be seeing Jimmy Johnson running 9 races in a Toyota. We're going to see the infamous 43 in a Toyota.
In a Toyota, absolutely.
One, that's going to look hella weird. It's going to look really weird seeing that 43 car that everyone has grown to love.
It's
and
so iconic.
Talking about tradition.
So
that
iconic.
An iconic car now changing face and having it powered through Toyota. We'll get into like the weirdness factor of that in a bit, but Ryan, go ahead and kind of give us some insight as to what led to this change from Chevy to Toyota.
All right, so what ultimately led to this decision for Legacy Motor Club to leave Chevy and go to Toyota? Ultimately, according to what, because they went and put out a article and a statement saying that they were leaving, and then an explanation as to why they were leaving, and the specific term that they used was that that the CEO of Legacy Motor Club said that they felt like, or that they would consider that the way they were treated was at the level that this person would consider a tier 3 team, meaning less resources, less access to data, and ultimately it comes down to the fact that Chevy's got a lot of eggs in a lot of baskets. I mean, they got the Trackhouse and Spire programs that are building, especially
absolutely
with how many eggs even Trackhouse is trying to get their hands on. Then you've got the Hendrick Motorsports crew, which is developing a lot of data, but they also take a lot of resources out of that Chevy group. Then you've got the RCR, you've got Dylan and Kyle Busch, who need data. And then you've got, behind them, you have, then you've got Colleague and Legacy Motor Club and all those other Chevy teams who are just fighting for the scraps that are left over after all the bigger teams come in and scoop them up. Now,
so if we were to create our own tier system, Ryan,
yep,
where would you tier the NASCAR teams based off of the 2023 season?
So I would probably put Hendrick Motorsports absolutely at the top if we're talking about just Chevy teams. Hendrick would absolutely be the top. Then that B tier, if we're saying A, B as kind of the top of the tier list. A tier would be Hendrick Motorsports. B tier would be where I would put both RCR and Trackhouse. And then I would also include in like the Trackhouse affiliate team there with Spire. And then I believe after that, if I'm not mistaken, I think it would just be you would throw in Legacy Motor Club and Colleague Racing into that next tier, and then below that would be the BJ McLeod car, which ultimately ended. Oh wait, no, they switched over to Ford. Never mind.
Yeah, I think you're spot on that assessment. That's how I had it written down.
Yeah, trying to remember if there's any other Chevy teams, because I feel like there's one more Chevy team I'm just completely forgetting.
Aren't you forgetting the 43 from last year?
I said Legacy Motor Club and Colleague would be in that third tier.
Okay.
Because I said Hendrick in the top tier above all the other Chevy teams. Then you would have a split between the Trackhouse Racing Chevys and the Richard Childress Chevys. Oh, I completely forgot JTG Doherty Racing, who would probably also be in that third tier.
Yeah, so it's safe to say that third tier is kind of like what's left.
Yeah.
But and when we're looking at performance, I mean, it kind of makes sense. I mean, I'm not a conspiracy guy, and
and then you've got the part-time teams
when I saw
like
this
Beard
article come out,
Motorsports.
it's that.
And then you would have like the part-time teams like Beard Motorsports and TMT Racing, who'd be even further, who would be in that fourth tier, even below the full-time teams. But
yeah, and me personally, I'm not a big conspiracy theory guy, but when you look at this article, it could sometimes when you see these things, it could just be people taking shots at the other carrier just to put a little jab on them because of them being disgruntled. But when you look at how Petty's team looked, and then when Jimmy Johnson finally got there and they switched it to Legacy Motor Club, it it does kind of back up what he's saying. It just seemed like they weren't really top tier cars. Like they were never really in the mix in any race. They were always fighting to be in the top 20. You may get them on a good day surviving on a super speedway, but correct me if I'm wrong,
to
but
an extent, though, I mean,
the data kind of backs up that they didn't really have the best performance.
Yeah, and I mean that had been that way for a little while now. That the Petty team, I mean, even when they were Petty GMS, I mean, they never really performed much above the level that they've been at for the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I said this a couple weeks back. It all boils down to good teammates, good crew chiefs, and I mean, they just haven't had the manufacturer support. I mean,
I think the manufacturer support is the main thing. Like if everybody's operating off of the same equipment, operating off of the same information, and it's getting the same amount of support, then you'll probably see a balance amongst their group. But in this case, they're talking about a 3-tier system, and the performances that you see if you date back to the past 5 years all support it. Hendrick is constantly consistent. RCR is most of the time consistent. The quick start and consistency that Trackhouses started putting on the tracks has gotten a lot better, and in doing so, you just really started seeing a declining Petty Enterprise and a Legacy Motor Club struggling to get into the top 20. Ben, what are your thoughts on this? I don't know. I don't know if Ben is trying to talk, but he's muted.
Or if he's got something going on elsewhere, but I'll chime in again. Oh.
My bad, I had it muted. I don't know. It just feels like they've been mediocre since mid 2000s probably, and they haven't had an actual driver really. Bubba Wallace, he's okay.
They had Amarola for like 5 years or so, but
he's not amazing. I mean, they thought Bubba Wallace was going to carry the team. You can't just have him carry the team. It wasn't Eric Amarola on the team at one point or something.
Yeah, he was on the team for like 5, 6, 7 years there.
Yeah, it just seems like they tried to focus too much on Bubba and they didn't give him anything to use. And he moved on to a different race team, and it seems like he's doing the same thing, just average. I just feel like it could be just the equipment, or it could be the drivers they have. I mean, who knows? It could be a little bit of both.
Well,
let's look on the flip side now. Now, what kind of expectations can we have from Lazy Motor Club now being powered through Toyota, and from what they're saying is now getting more support than they ever did from Chevy? What would we consider as a win for 2024 from Legacy?
For me,
finishing in the top 15 in points at least.
Yeah.
I think those expectations, top 15 in points, I think is fairly lofty. I think them going from barely scraping by for top 25, I think if they just inch towards that top 20, I think that will be a pretty major improvement. Maybe one car battling in towards that, trying to point their way into the playoff, but I think it's going to be very tough to see both cars go from outside the top 25 to inside the top 20 or top 15 even.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the drivers they have this year. They have John Hanaminak
And
and
Eric Jones.
Eric Jones, and it's just like for me, it's what have you done for me lately? And those two haven't worked together yet. Uh, as far as being on the same team. So, I mean, I'd love to see them have a fantastic year and make the playoffs, but I just don't see it from both cars.
I could see Eric Jones potentially doing well at the Darlington race to end the regular season, because that is now the regular season finale. I could see that being the a potential way for Jones to get in to either win that or be within striking distance going into Darlington. But I think it's going to be an uphill battle for either one of those cars to be in playoff contention by that point, barring
Yeah,
win and
I,
ends.
I think Eric Jones has the highest odds. And the thing is, I don't think it's as lofty as you're expecting it to be top 15 in points. Um, and the only reason why I'm bringing that up is when you look at 2311, they're kind of like the newest team on board with Toyota.
Yep.
They they had in their first season they had at least one driver in the top 15.
No,
In
he
the
was.
next season,
Say their first season they got drive. I think they got a driver into the top 20, but they didn't get a driver into the top 15 in 2311's first season. Because first season they had just Bubba, and he was like 20th, 21st in points.
gotcha, I may have mislooked at it, but even then, like as a new team getting the resources compared to what Bubba Wallace had been doing from the 43, it was still an improvement.
You know
And
what would be a
now
proper legacy?
now
A
that
proper legacy would be if Dodge came back to NASCAR racing and Richard Petty's team, because it's Richard Petty's team, that's how this all started, went back to Dodges. That would be legacy shit.
and get that Red Bull Racing
There you,
sponsorship.
there you go. I don't know. My 2 cents again. That I don't care. Richard Petty's racing team means nothing. They amount to almost nothing at all compared to everybody else. So
What I was getting at is Bubba Wallace comes from Richard Petty Racing and steps in with 2311.
okay,
In their first year with Toyota, he has a career best in points. Then follow it up to last year, where they are supporting two drivers, and both Tyler Reddick and Bubba finished in the top 10 in points.
fair enough.
So
Yep, fair enough.
I think this is going to be a great move in the long run for Legacy Motor Club, but I wouldn't say that top 15 would be a lofty expectation, considering the talent that Eric Jones has. I think Eric Jones is a better driver than Bubba Wallace if you put him in the same equipment.
I would agree with you there. Nope, I would agree with you there. I believe he is as well.
Yeah,
So.
I agree. And before we move on, I have one other thing I'd like to say.
Oh, hold on, Ryan. You agree or disagree?
So, again, the only thing I would worry about is, in addition, there is that I still think that Toyota has a tiering system in terms of the support, and I don't necessarily know if the level of support that they'll get will be enough to rise them necessarily immediately above or to the level that 2311 was. Because remember, 2311, their first year that they got a car in the playoff, or in the owners' playoff, it was with the hands of Kurt Busch for that entire first half of the season. I mean, you had Kurt Busch there putting up great results in that 45 car.
Very true.
I agree.
That's
It
very
took
true.
Bubba,
at the same
100%.
time,
Bubba,
though,
what, 3 years to get into the playoffs with a car that he actually drove the full season? Versus looking at a talent like, because Kurt Busch is, I think we can all imagine he's probably a first ballot Hall of Famer, if not at least a Hall of Famer.
Guaranteed first ballot. Guaranteed first ballot.
Yeah, so
I'm actually a fan
one
of him.
of the few drivers that actually made the machine better, and not the machine making the driver better.
And then you look at Tyler Reddick, who was coming off of what, a 3-win season the year before he came into that team. I mean, those are both drivers I would say that can elevate the equipment. So to see them getting the instant success after coming into a team who had already spent 1 year starting the kind of process of building speed, I still think
But
it's
also
gonna
at
be
the same
tough...
time, they're also operating at an even playing field with the new build of the Toyotas. So even though they had previous year data, all the Toyota teams are going to kind of be learning at the same time. And again, that's why I look at, like, I don't expect them to be competing with the 2311s of the world, but if you look at just overall driver talent, I think Eric Jones, powered by a Toyota, with given the information and support with the equipment and being able to actually have a decent car for him to drive, I don't think it's a lofty expectation for him to get into the top 15 in points. We're looking at top 10 finishes. Don't necessarily have to win any races. Looking at some top 15, top 20s at the worst.
So the way I look at it when I'm talking about people and where I think they'll finish in points, I mean, just looking at his competition in the Toyota house, let's say that, because we're going to probably focus on Eric Jones, because I think John Hunter Nemechek, it's going to take him time to reacclimate to the Cup car, especially with how different the next gen car is. So we'll focus on Eric Jones for the scenario, because he's been racing the next gen. So he might be able to outpoint Bubba Wallace, which would put him as, what, the 6th best Toyota on the team, if you look at the Toyota as one team there, because I don't know if he'll be able to outpoint Ty Gibbs on the mothership. Tyler Reddick is bringing a ton of speed. The other 3 Joe Gibbs cars, we talked about them a lot last week. That's a lot of speed. And that would put 5 cars ahead of him already. Then you factor in three cars from Team Penske. Probably at least 2 of them end up ahead of him. Hendrick Motorsports probably gets 2 or 3 cars ahead of him as well, and it just starts pushing that kind of expectation further and further down, barring an injury from Elliott, or barring that Bowman actually doesn't get back to form. Because that's 2 more cars there. Then you got...
No more snowboarding accidents, please.
Yeah, then you've got, even looking further down, it's like Chastain. He's probably above the level of Eric Jones in that 43 car. And you just start...
Yeah, but I mean, you don't have to deal with the likes of Kevin Harvick, though.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick not being there will definitely open up a spot. But then you've got potentially Suarez or Cindric bouncing back after off years in 2023. Because, I mean, it's not like Cindric's in a bad car and could bounce back.
While we're on that topic, what guy do you think will have the biggest bounce back year?
I think that's going to be a topic for another time, because that's going to be a long list of people that we could potentially talk about. So we'll save that for another episode.
Yeah, that's we can save that for a couple of weeks from now when we get towards the 500. That's a good topic, JP. We'll definitely hit on that. But we'll use this as a good enough time to... Now we're going to make the transition to the world of IndyCar. So for the 2024 season, IndyCar will have a 17 race schedule for the 2024, and they will open at the St. Petersburg, Florida racetrack. Going into the season, Alex Palou is the favorite to reclaim the title as IndyCar champion, but he will be presented with the challenge of becoming the first repeat champion uh, since 2011. The last one to do that was Dario Franchitti, who won the championship from 2009 to 2011. So talking about 4 years of dominance. I don't know if you guys did any research on the matter, but who would you think would be favorite to win the championship or IndyCar coming this year in 2024? And this is our W Energy super way too early bowl predictions. So we'll start off with JP.
All right. So, Alex Palou, I think will win the championship just because I've seen him race Indy cars, and they always seem to talk about him. He always seems to be at the front, battling for wins. And I bet you that kid has 6 wins this year.
6 wins, huh?
6 wins. So with those wins, and I don't know how Indy gets their points.
It's a full season championship is how they do their points.
Yeah, they don't do a tiered. They don't do a thing at the end where it's like a playoff.
Yeah.
No. I didn't think it did, but I didn't know. Yeah. That's kind of
all right. That's what you're thinking?
Yep.
Ben, what do you think you got? Ben is muted again.
I'm here.
Who's your way too early bowl prediction for 2024 IndyCar champion?
I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I was looking at it earlier, but I'm going to go with the guy who was already a champion before previously.
Alex Palou?
Yeah. I don't know too much about IndyCar. I don't watch it much anymore like I used to. But I feel like he's probably going to be the one that's going to be the guy to beat. It used to be Yelio, wherever his name is. He used to be really good. But
Elio Castroneves.
I don't think he's going to do anything. He used to be good, but
Elio's
I think
only
age
racing the 500 this year.
Gotcha. Well, I guess age caught up to him probably.
Yeah,
If you were
he is
asking
47 now, I believe.
If you're asking me about my opinion of IndyCar, I couldn't tell you anything. I don't watch IndyCar. I watch it occasionally, maybe a race or two a year.
All right, Ryan.
All right, so I've got a couple of names that I was kind of looking at ahead of time. I was actually looking at potentially Palou's teammate there, Scott Dixon, potentially for a championship. I believe that would be championship number 7 there for him, if he is able to claim it. Add to that list of 7-time motorsport champions across the leagues. I mean, you got 3 of them in NASCAR. Lewis Hamilton, I think, is at 7 F1 championships. So add to that list with Scott Dixon. But I could also see if you want to go for a little bit more of a bolder pick, you could go with the other Scott from New Zealand and go with Scott McLaughlin, who finished 3rd in points last year, despite only managing 1 win. Driving for Penske, I could see him potentially having a breakout year.
I was looking at the McLaughlin guy. Is he related to a guy from NASCAR?
I don't think so. I think it's kind of just a common name for people from New Zealand, similar to how, for example, in America, there's a lot of Smiths or a lot of such and such a name. Where like you'll have like, oh yeah, there's 500 Smiths in the world or in the U.S.
Yeah, I think both of those are good options, and I would not be disappointed to say the least if either one of them claim the championship. But there's at least one name that we got to bring up when we're talking about early favorites, and that's Joseph Newgarden. Joseph Newgarden has been operating on a level of consistency that is kind of scary. Stemming back to 2022, in 2022 he won a IndyCar Series high of 5 races, so giving him series high of 9 races since the 2022 season began. But he's one of those guys who had a dominant season but did not win the title. And I think since then that has kind of lit a fire under him and his team to get a championship. And I think that stems into 2024. Another game to kind of look at would be Will Power. He's a guy who seems like he's been in IndyCar for forever, but he went winless in 2023 for the first time since 2006.
Well, what
And
I like is
that
the top 2 guys are Ganassi team members, and I think that's a really good team right there. They're gonna be hard to beat.
Yeah, and then there was all the
For
drama
sure.
with Palou last year where he was potentially suing. He was trying to sue Ganassi to try and get out of them, and then ultimately he doubled back and decided to go back to Ganassi after trying to sue them.
Will Power didn't win a race last year? Because that's actually a name I know very well. That guy's like
Nope.
Yeah,
dominator,
he won
isn't
a
he?
championship in 2022, but he went winless last year.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think last year put a bitter taste in his mouth, and you're going to see a different side of Will Power come this year. And then the last one would be Pato O'Ward with Arrow McLaren. That team is a team that is on the up and coming. Because you had Pato O'Ward, you had last year Alexander Rossi, who is another guy who is always seeming to be in the top 10. And then what I like is, this will go into our final topic. It includes some potential breakout stars within the IndyCar realm. And this was presented to us by our dear friend John Koblenz. He is our Social Sports Pad journalist, and in his article, he named 3 drivers to look out for the 2024 season. And the first one would be David Malakis for Arrow McLaren.
David Malukas.
He will be driving the Arrow McLaren number 6 car, joining Alexander Rossi and Pato O'Ward. And as a team that is on the up and coming with youth and some strong performances from those 2 drivers, I guess I'll kind of go to Ryan since everyone else isn't as keen on IndyCar. What are some expectations that you have of David?
All right, so Malukas has spent the last couple of years, his first couple of years in the series, driving for Dale Coyne Racing, which is a much less funded team. Kind of, they usually end up picking drivers based on who can bring the money. Now he's going to have the full arsenal of Arrow McLaren to back him up, so I would expect to see a step up, probably win his first IndyCar race. Is just hard to predict because now you have 3 real championship contenders all right in that building, that it could be a fight for the attentions for like the number 1 or the best equipment on that team. Because I know that was the thing with Rossi at Andretti for years, was that it always felt like he was trying to fight to get the number 1 equipment away from some of the more veteran drivers at that team.
Well, Andretti always was the best, so he's always going to fight for the best.
Yeah, exactly, and especially with McLaren being involved in Formula One, where giving better equipment to one driver than another is a very common practice, I wouldn't be shocked to see them potentially do a similar approach with their IndyCar program and try and basically use the drivers to measure up against each other.
Does IndyCar also
And
use the that feature, the EV boost or whatever it's called?
The push to pass.
Yeah, do they use that too?
Yeah, they use push to pass.
Okay.
Not the same as the DRS that the F1 cars use. It's different, but they both have a form of allowing cars to help overtake.
Nice. Okay.
But they also have different blocking rules as well. So push to pass is kind of needed with their restrictions when it comes to blocking and things like that.
Yeah. Well, and the blocking rules are in place because you can't make a late block and just potentially break someone's car because of how fragile these cars are.
I was going to stay out of
that's
this
another
conversation.
reason why they have the push to pass is because of the fragile aspect of their cars and the blocking aspect.
Oh, that's bullshit. I have to chime in on this. Push to pass is silly. It should be wide open motors all the time. You don't get any extra push to pass. It's just wide open motors all the time. Again, just my opinion, but I think it's silly. I hate it. I think it's like a weird gimmick that doesn't work for me at all.
I say, but with the IndyCar Series, where they were having a lot of trouble trying to find a way to write rules that were both safe for the drivers, but also allowed for the cars to be able to pass each other. The push to pass hasn't been exactly terrible at doing at least the job that it's supposed to.
Yep, I agree. I don't think you're too far. I don't think you're wrong in your assessment, Ryan.
Yep.
And the next two names I'm going to bring up to you are both with Chip Ganassi. So not only do they have Alex Palou, not only do they have Scott Dixon, but now they have two young up and comers. The first one is Linus Lundqvist. I'm basing off of the two that I'm going to be bringing up.
Okay.
So the first one is being Linus Lundqvist.
Yep.
I always mispronounce that last name, but he is taking over the number 8 Chip Ganassi car from Marcus Ericsson, who is moving on.
Yep.
And we're talking about a team that just knows how to get it done. And you pair him up with Marcus Armstrong, who is coming into the number 11 Chip Ganassi car, as the two that I'm thinking that's going to have the most impact when it comes to young talent. When you're pairing them up together, Ericsson almost won the Indy 500 last year.
Yep.
Had it not been for
the one lap restart.
An ill time. Yep.
Yep.
And it's definitely, and they just have a knack for the big races, and you pair that up with the knowledge and the mentorship that is Alex Palou and Scott Dixon. I think they're saying at least these two out of the three up for a big future of success. So my question to you, Ryan, is out of the two, who do you think would have the better chance of becoming the breakout star for Chip Ganassi?
Okay, so looking at these two specifically, I would probably lean towards Marcus Armstrong, where he ran a significant portion of last year, versus Linus Lundqvist, who's coming in as pretty much a true rookie. He's going to have a lot less experience in these big Indy cars compared to Armstrong. So I think at least in the early portion of the season, I think Marcus will get off to an early lead over his two rookie teammates. And then I think as the season goes on, I think you'll start to see both Linus Lundqvist Lundqvist and Kiffin Simpson, both driving Ganassi cars this year, close that gap over as they go through the summer. But I think Marcus Armstrong will still end up the highest in points of the three.
Where's Lundqvist from? Because I've heard that name before.
He's from Sweden.
What did he race in another series?
He raced Indy Next last year. I believe he was the Indy Next champion last year.
Okay, that name sounds familiar though.
Otherwise known as Indy Lights, and he took part in pretty much the entire road to Indy. So, but going back to a point that you made though about Chip Ganassi being good at these big races, they haven't won the Indy 500 since 2012. Was the last time Chip Ganassi actually won the Indy 500.
Yeah, that's a shocking stat, considering like they always seem to be in the mix towards the end of those races.
Yeah, Dario Franchitti in 2012 was their last Chip Ganassi Indy 500. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I say Scott Dixon only has one Indy 500 under his belt, and that one came back in 2008.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, because there was like a 5-year stretch where it was pretty much you had to be an Andretti car, pretty much, Andretti or Penske.
Yeah.
Because 2014 Andretti, 2015 Penske, 16 and 17 Andretti, 18 and 19 were Penske, and then it went to Rahal, Shank. Oh wait, no, Chip Ganassi won it last year with 2 years ago with Marcus Ericsson. My bad.
Yep. Almost came.
I remember
one
used
lap,
to be one of
less
the
than a
top
lap short of winning back-to-back 500s.
Penske's.
Yep.
Pretty good.
But yeah, no, I missed Marcus Ericsson in 2022. He was that is a more recent Ganassi win. As
I'm an Ericsson fan because that was my first Indy 500 that I attended, and he was the one that won the race. And with me still being relatively new to IndyCar, I went there with John to watch it, and I told him whoever was going to win that race, that's who I would become a fan of. And I'm actually looking forward to seeing what he's able to do with his new team.
Yep. Yeah, so he's driving that number 28 now at Andretti.
Yep.
And I just want to mention one other rookie on this list for a potential breakout season that people might not see coming. But you've got Tom Blomqvist, who's coming over from the IMSA Sports Car Championship, who will be running the full season for Meyer Shank. I believe it'll be the pink number 66 car, if I'm not mistaken.
It's going to be impossible to miss.
Well, it'll be impossible to miss aside from the other Meyer Shank car out there that looks exactly like it. Because, and especially at the Indy 500 where they're going to have the 06, the 60, and the 66. Because Elio will be driving for that team in the 06. But I believe that's the only other full-time rookie on the schedule. It'll be Kiffin Simpson for Ganassi, Linus Lundqvist, and then Tom Blomqvist, I believe, are the only full-time rookies.
And Tom has some significant racing under his belt, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I believe I don't know if he actually won a championship over in IMSA, but I know he's been on a very fast team and has been in contention for the Rolex 24 a few times.
You probably don't find yourself in that car if you're not a good driver. That's it. You probably don't find yourself in that car, right?
Speaking of the Rolex 24, we will be going into that next week. So that is going to be a topic and interesting stat line. As of right now, when we're looking at the driver entry list, from the IndyCar Series alone, they're expected to have 15 of their drivers involved in the Rolex 24. which if that number sticks, make up over 50% of the drivers in the Rolex 24 coming from IndyCar. And as of this recording, correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, if you haven't seen anything pop up today, but as of this recording, there is no NASCAR drivers representing in the Rolex 24.
I haven't heard anything specifically. Let me see if I can pull up the Rolex entry list real quick.
Okay, because I know in years past, guys like Austin Cindric, and some other guys like that have participated in the Rolex 24.
Jimmy Johnson in
but
the Chip Ganassi car usually has been one of them.
Jeff Gordon's driven in it.
So while we're on that topic, just a plug for next week. I did get an opportunity to speak with a driver that had some friends competing in the Rolex 24. We spoke about that today on my YouTube channel. Go check out that video because it was a good interview.
We are going to do plugs as soon as we are done with this topic, JP.
Oh.
All right, let's see. I'm working my way through the cars right now. I have not seen any NASCAR guys yet, although usually they're competing in the lower tiers because they're more applicable to the NASCAR next gen car than the prototypes are.
Yep.
But yeah, there's a lot of IndyCar names though that I'm seeing on this list. I've seen Christian Rasmussen, who is also doing a lot of the the IndyCar season. Essentially a rookie, but he won't be running the ovals outside of the Indy 500. So,
yep,
that's another rookie to watch out
but
for.
When I look at the Rolex 24, I think IndyCar kind of treats the Rolex 24 as their exhibition race to get their drivers back into the mode of racing before they start their 17 race season. I don't know, but I think I don't know about you guys, but I look forward to the Rolex 24. I enjoy seeing the variety of drivers and exposure, and I think it's going to be a good time. I do that more than the Clash, so that's just me.
Andy Lally, I know he makes a bunch of part-time road course starts in NASCAR. He's in the Rolex, but this is kind of his normal series, and he comes over to NASCAR as opposed to the other way around. Then there's still some TBAs on the entry list as well.
Gotcha. What about Jenson Button? Is he on there?
Yeah, Jenson Button's in here.
Austin Cindric.
Yeah, Jenson Button's in here. I did not see Cindric's name, but there are a few TBAs still. And this was updated as of today.
As the days, I'm sure as the days get closer, when teams start needing drivers to fill in, I'm sure we'll see a few pop in here and there. But I think this has been a great conversation. I want to thank the Alkyli Project for our theme song. Please check out their album Blood World and on all music platforms. Definitely got some good stuff there. Thank you to Fanatics, W Energy, Bulletproof Coffee for sponsoring the Lapdown podcast. Ryan, what's your YouTube series that you do?
All right, so I got my YouTube channel where I do my series called Running with the Pack, where I talk about the most up-to-date NASCAR stuff going on in the world of NASCAR and any other relevant racing topics. So, check that out. Should have the first episode of that dropping sometime next week.
They can find you right on YouTube just by searching Ryan Dyer, correct?
Yeah, youtube.com/Ryan Dyer.
And then JP, I know you got some big things in store for your your program as well.
Yeah, very, very excited to publicly announce David Scott's going to be on my program here and has agreed to come on Lockdown Podcast after he's done with me on Full Throttle. So I'm sure you'll
That's exciting.
be ready to talk to him, and it will be a fun conversation over on my YouTube first, and then got him talking to coming over here.
Yeah, that's gonna be really exciting.
That's
It's gonna be a
exciting
great
news.
week for both of us. Just for in case people don't know, JP's YouTube page is Full Throttle. Um, check him out. He'll have that upcoming star, and you can also look in his back videos with his one-on-one interview with Coach Joe Gibbs. So he's got some good stuff over there
Good
as
old
well.
coach.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, and don't
Ben, you
forget.
got anything going on with the
Yeah, don't forget.
with the Social Sports Pad podcast on Saturday and Tuesdays?
Yeah, I believe we're planning on possibly doing one on a Friday. That's what I was talking to Ricky about earlier. He's talking about maybe possibly doing an impromptu one on Friday. So look for
Just to
one.
get ahead of the
that's
playoffs.
coming. Yeah, to
Yeah.
get ahead of the playoffs. Yep. Anybody else have anything else to say?
Anything going on in your life, Rumble?
I was just waiting for my opportunity. So it's dead of winter up here. You may have seen the picture. There's not a lot of racing going on. We're waiting for speed weeks to come up, and this is on topic and also off topic. But we all met each other probably, I think, kind of because we raced each other online. Am I wrong?
No,
You're
not
right.
wrong.
You are absolutely correct.
So I just want to bring this up. My rumbling for this week is I sucked ass. I got my ass stomped at Eldora last night in the World of Outlaws, and then did an all-star race tonight where I finished fifth in the Open, where you need to be top 3. I just like to say that I'm sucking ass this week, and fucking Darlington sucks.
You race on a World of Outlaws?
Yes, I do. I joined the league, and you know what? You know how many people show up? Like 40 of these motherfuckers. They have
Really?
all different series going with different chats going for each race. Everything. It's a totally different.
Xbox, right?
What's that?
It's on Xbox, right? The World of Outlaws game.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So, but it's just. So that's all I can really come up with right now, because we're kind of, like I said, it's winter up here and there's not a lot of racing going on. But in my own life, I'm sucking ass, getting my ass stomped at Eldora, and tonight finishing 5th when I needed to finish fucking 3rd. Right?
Getting snowed in.
I'm totally snowed in.
Atlanta this week, tomorrow actually, in the Thomas Cup
That's
Series.
right. That's right. I'm getting ready to race in Ryan's League tomorrow, and I'm just saying it ain't been the best start of 2024. I'll tell you that, boys. But that's all I really got, because I think we all met because we raced online, and here we are. And I just wanted to say Rumble sucks. I got stomped at Eldora the other night and finished 5th when I needed to finish 3rd tonight, and that's all I got. That's all the rumblings I got.
All right.
Ryan, real quick, for anyone who is even remotely interested in checking out our league race, where can they find the stream of the Thomas Cup Series that's performed on NASCAR Heat 5?
So I'll be streaming my POV of the race over on my YouTube channel, as I said, at Ryan Dyer, or youtube.com/Ryan Dyer. So I'll be streaming it.
And
there.
I gotta give a testimonial there. Almost everybody there is super fast. I'm always like 3/10 down, no matter what the hell I do. So
I usually get taken out by somebody.
Fuck, it is what it is. But that's what I had to say for my rumblings this week, is that there's not much racing going on, but when I am racing, I've been getting my ass kicked this week. Stupid Rumble.
Well, Well, off of that, I would like to thank everybody for hopping on tonight, getting through the kinks. Like I said, uh, Greg was not here, so I kind of had to run the ship. I know it wasn't as fluent as the way that he usually has it, but as for me, as for JP, as for Ben, Rumble, and Brian, I would like to say thank you for tuning in and listening to the Lap Down podcast. And with everybody saying, wish you have a good night and deuces!
Deuces!